Someone presented their argument in favor of the AR-15, and I figured someone would. I figured someone would, and that's okay. I'm not mad at them, but I think their argument is a little thin, and their argument was the AR-15 is a very light weapon, easier to handle than a shotgun and handgun for women, younger people, I guess, if they have to defend their home. And you can take on multiple opponents uh, if multiple assailants were to come into your home. Now, personally, I think a handgun is even lighter than an AR-15 and a quicker reload than an AR-15. I believe I've never used an AR-15, but what I've seen, I believe you got to kind of, once the magazine of an AR is spent, you kind of have to angle the gun out a little bit off your shoulder and do the whole switch and clip thing. Um, I think a handgun would be much faster, much easier to use, and the handgun, in my opinion, is a better weapon for home invasion type stuff because you don't have to bring it up to the shoulder. You don't have to aim it as much. You can have it down by your hip and fire it. You can be in a tussle with someone and fire it. If you're in a tussle with someone, you're not firing an AR-15. It's too long. It's a rifle style weapon, even the shorter ones. Um, the AR-15 is good for military type operations. Why? Because a soldier has his finger over where the trigger is. He has it at the ready, in a ready position to take on assailants from distance. Um, an assailant can get relatively close to you. You can still use the AR-15, but there still has to be some distance. Now, I'll tell a little quick story. I was at a park a few years ago, and a guy got out with his wife and small child in a stroller, and he had an AR-15, slung over his back. And me and my girlfriend, we left immediately because I don't want to be anywhere near a guy out in public with an AR-15, because if he decides to start firing that thing for whatever reason, he gets attacked, whatever, bullets are going to be going everywhere. And you're talking about a very powerful weapon. These bullets are going to go long distance. I don't want to be anywhere near that, a guy in public. I don't know how well trained or not well trained, and I don't care if it's the most well trained individual in the world. Bullets tend to often go where you don't intend them to. That's a problem with a weapon like that. The person also spoke about, with training a woman or a younger person, someone that's not as strong, to use a shotgun or something like that. I think with training, someone would be more skilled with again, a handgun for home invasion purposes, and it'd be a quicker reload. He also talked about the capacity of the magazine, 20 to 30 rounds. So you've got 20 to 30 shots before the police show up. I don't really hear many stories of people taking on home invasion and assailants with AR-15s in their home. Uh, First of all, in my opinion, it would take too long to get the gun at the ready. Second of all, I mean, what do you have, a gang of 5, 6 people coming at you in your home? That's a very rare thing. You usually see that in like movies, or if you're a drug kingpin that lives in Mexico City or something, you might have that happen to you. Or if you're involved with the mob or you're running from the mob or something, maybe you'd have 5 or 6 people coming at you. But that's movie type stuff. If you're taking on 5 or 6 people, most likely they're gonna get you. You know what I mean? Most likely, if they're armed, they're gonna get you. One of their bullets is gonna hit you, even with the AR. Um, so I just think the argument's a little thin. I think a woman or a younger person, a weaker person than a grown man that can handle the kick of a shotgun, I think they'd handle a handgun much better. And also, my argument is these high capacity magazines and assault rifles. It seems they're more often used, the majority of times, it seems they're more often used by mass shooters to kill mass amounts of civilians, of citizens at movie theaters, in public, children in schools. And that's what the intent is. Because it's a high capacity magazine, you can kill more people faster. That's why it's designed for the military. You need that capacity if you're in the military. You really don't need that capacity if you're an ordinary citizen. It's just not necessary. It's overkill. And oftentimes the gun, more often than not, the gun is used by mass shooters to kill a lot of people quickly. So that's why I personally would support a ban on those guns. That is the weapon of choice. I've seen a list of the mass shootings over, I can't remember how many years. It's always a fucking AR-15. And there's a reason for that. Because these people are psychos that want to go out and kill a lot of people quickly. That's why they choose that weapon. And it's a weapon designed for the military to kill quickly when you're taking on multiple adversaries on the fucking battlefield. It's really not a good weapon, in my opinion, for home defense. I think a shotgun or a handgun for a weaker person is a much better, much quicker weapon. That's just my opinion. And, where do we draw the line? The person also made the argument that, families should have the right to defend their home the way they want to. Well, where do we draw the line with that? Should you be able to own hand grenades? Should you be able to put a minefield out in your front yard for trespassers? Should you be able to own a rocket launcher? Like, where do we draw the line? Because it seems to me, from what I see in America, at least as an American, it seems these weapons of war mostly get used by mass shooters. You don't need it for deer hunting. If you need an AR for deer hunting, then you better practice your aim, I guess, with your single shot rifle. It's just not necessary. Now, I would support, if people really want to play with these guns, if they just have to play with these guns, I would support having AR-15s at the gun club, and you can only go to the gun club and play around with your AR-15 with target practice. That's the only place I would support AR-15s still being on the street. And, I'll bring back the point again that the gentleman said, families should have the right to defend their homes how they want to, but what about the rights of all the other citizens out there when they want to go to a movie, or they want to walk around a shopping mall, or they just want to walk around in public, or they want to send their children to school? Don't they have the right to not have to worry about some psycho with an AR-15 and a high capacity magazine mowing, 30, 40, 50, 100 people down in 2 minutes? That's the danger of these weapons. And that's why, these weapons were designed for the military. That's what they're good for, killing a lot of people quickly. And I just don't see many scenarios where 10 people are going to try and break in your place. You know what I mean? Or a gang of armed individuals are going to come at you at your home. There's not many scenarios where that would take place. So really, in my opinion, really needing an AR-15 for home defense is, in my opinion, a kind of weak argument. Again, unless you're a drug kingpin, or you have ties to the mob and they put a hit out on you or something, then maybe you need that gun. But again, that style gun, you need to be able to bring that up to your shoulder, aim, and fire. That takes time. And if people are coming at you, unless you have advanced warning, you're really not going to have time to go for a rifle. A handgun's much quicker. Handgun, you can just tuck in your pants. Like, you can do anything with that. It's so versatile. I think again that's a much better weapon, and I personally would probably limit magazine capacity to 10. I looked into getting a gun in New Jersey years ago, and there are Glock 17s that have 17 rounds, and all different magazine sizes. And it depends what state you live in, whether it's legal or not. I believe in New Jersey they limited clip size to 10 or 9. I can't remember. Because I didn't even know at the time that a Glock 17 existed. I didn't know they had handguns that had 17 round magazines. And there's a reason in New Jersey they don't want you having over 10 bullets at a time, because you can do more damage. The more bullets you have, the more damage you can do. And cops don't want to have to deal with that shit. And I really think the biggest argument against the AR-15 is what happened in Uvalde and what happened in other places. But Uvalde is a great example. You had hundreds of police officers at that scene, and they were all too chicken shit to go in. Why? Because the guy had an AR-15 with a high capacity magazine. That's why. Now, if cops are even too chicken shit to take on that threat, again, I got to add, why do we need this weapon on the street? I just don't see the reason for it. And you got to weigh, if you want to make a rights argument out of it, which right is more important? The right of you to have an AR-15 to defend your home, which you don't need because there's a million other guns that you could buy, lightweight, heavyweight, whatever you're looking for. Or the right of ordinary citizens to be able to go out in public and not have to worry about being mowed down by a guy with a high capacity magazine. Personally, if I weigh the two rights out, my opinion is that the right of citizens to be able to go out, send their kids to school, all that, and not have to worry about a guy come in with a military grade assault weapon and mowing people down, in minutes, hundreds, whatever, tens, hundreds of people. I think that right is more important personally. And again, I'm not for banning all guns. And I have to put this question back out there again. I really wish people that owned ARs would look at I don't even have children. And, I was thinking this last night. I'm like, why do I care more about their children than they do? In this respect, in this gun question respect, because I really wonder how all the AR advocates out there, I wonder how they would feel if some psycho came to their children's school and mowed their child down. Would they still be like, yeah, I still got to have my AR-15, even though I lost my child to an AR-15 psycho mass shooter? Yeah, I don't even have children. And this is something that I think about often. Like, I really wish these people would look at their kids and just look at the gun and ask themselves, like, what's more important? Is my child more important? Or is this specific gun more important? Like, I know the answer to that. That's an easy answer for me. And again, I don't even have children. But it's just, it comes down to this for me. High capacity magazines and assault style weapons, they're for the fucking military. That's what they were designed for. That's where they should stay. And a lot of these guys, I'm not talking to this guy specifically. I don't know whether he owns one or not. I don't care. These guys that want to play with military grade weapons, I really got to ask you this question. Why don't you join the military? If that's what your thing, that's what you're into. You just need to be around these weapons. You need to handle these weapons. You need to fire these weapons. You're so that's so important in your life. Why don't you sign up? You know what I mean? Then you can play with them all day long. I just don't get it. You don't need the weapon in your normal life. And Again, I don't know if I told the rest of the story about the guy in the park with the AR-15. Back to that story again. He got out of the car with his wife and his small child. They put the child in the stroller. They were going to go in this little park that has a few walking paths. It's not a big park. And he had it slung around over his shoulder, and he had it on his back. And I'm looking at the guy, and I've been thinking about that lately. If I ran up behind that guy and tackled him, what good is that AR-15 going to do him? Nothing. It's worthless. He's done. If a guy has a handgun and I run up and tackle him, he has still a chance while we're rolling around on the ground or whatever the fuck during a scuffle. He still has a chance to grab that handgun and cap my ass and stop me. The guy with the AR slung around his back to intimidate people or just to send out the message like, don't fuck with me. Again, I could run up, tackle that motherfucker, and that gun's useless. So, personally, in my opinion, a handgun is much more valuable and versatile in any situation except for long distance enemy combatants. It's just a way better option, in my opinion. And it's lighter. Again, easier to handle for someone young or a woman that doesn't have the strength a man does to fire a shotgun or whatever. Personally, in my opinion, the best weapon, and I'm no weapons expert, but the best weapon for home defense, in my opinion, is a fucking shotgun, because you don't even have to have a good aim. And at close range, a shotgun is fucking devastating. So, if someone's a few feet away from you, threatening you in your home, a shotgun's going to take their ass out. But the guy does have that point that a weaker person, a woman that doesn't know how to handle a gun like that, or maybe isn't strong enough to handle a gun like that, a handgun would probably be a better option, in my opinion. He thinks an AR would. He also disagreed that when I said an AR really isn't necessary for home defense, that he disagreed with that there probably has been people that have defended their home with an AR, and a handgun wouldn't have been good enough. I don't know how they know that, but I disagree with that. And I'll just, I'll agree to disagree. I know there's people out there that I'm not going to change their mind, and they're just going to stand firm on this AR position. And something I forgot to say in the last video, something else that kind of disgusts me is, and I know this is mostly politicians and people doing this for political reasons. They get donations from the NRA. They have an agenda. It has nothing to do with their belief in guns. It has to do with where their income and where their votes come from. These people you see online posing their small children and what are some type of military grade weapon, that is the height of fucking irony to me, because at Christmas it's supposed to be, about the birth of Jesus, and the Christmas tree, even though it's a straight up pagan tradition, has nothing to do with Christianity. It's somehow been lumped in. You're standing there in front of your Christmas tree, which in America represents Jesus and the birth of Jesus in Christianity. And you're standing there with your children, and you're got the wife and the husband, and they're all smiling, holding their assault rifles. That's ridiculous. That's it's just cheap political theater, and you're using your children to do it. That's, again, something I forgot to mention in the last video that really kind of disgusts me. And, you're kind of grooming your children to a certain mentality. And it's not the best mentality. But for me, ordinary citizens' lives, children's lives, because this gun, this AR-15, is the weapon of choice for mass shooters. It is the weapon of choice, and I don't think anyone could argue against that that's not reality, because it is. Because it's the weapon of choice for mass shooters, and we've seen it play out time and time again, and because having high capacity magazines gives you the ability to kill a lot of people quickly, that's why I would ban these weapons. And I would also ban high capacity magazines. I'd probably limit magazine size again to like 10. I'm not running for office. These are just the thoughts I have on the subject. And I know it's going to piss some people off. And a lot of people aren't going to agree. My throat's getting dry again, sorry. And again, I'm not trying to offend people. It just, I just think people need to ask themselves what's more important, that assault weapon or children's lives and citizens' lives, other citizens. For me, I know there's other guns I could buy if I chose to that are very powerful or very not powerful. So for me, citizens' lives and children's lives are more important. And vote for Nicholas in District 3. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not running for office. Not running for office. And it's not because it's just a position I have because I see what's going on in our society, and it's not good. And the only solution, I think, is, as far as the mass shootings go, is to get these military grade assault weapons off the fucking street and no 30 round mags, because the wrong people end up using them. I'm not hearing the instances of people needing to defend their homes with 30 round magazines. It just seems like overkill to me. I'm not seeing the examples. And I guess I should throw this in. We always get the good guy with a gun argument. That if there was a good guy there with a gun, that wouldn't have happened. No, that's been disproven time and time and time again. Uvalde, again, is the ultimate example. Hundreds of police officers stood there. Some parents even snuck into the school while the shooting was going on to remove their children. That actually happened. Cops tried to stop one woman, put her in cuffs. She talked them into letting her out of the cuffs. She hopped the fucking fence, went into school herself, and found her children. So yeah, if hundreds of cops are afraid to take on one guy with a high capacity mag and an AR-15, and they're just going to stand there, I think that's a pretty good argument to ban the guns. I don't know. Have a good evening.